And welcome everyone to the Riverside County Board Brief. My name is Pep Fernandez. We appreciate you tuning in, and we're going to kick things off with a very special guest right off the top because of a very important day here at the Board of Supervisors meeting in Riverside County. Rania Odenbaugh from the county's executive office. And Rania, today, one of the big topics during the Board of Supervisors meeting was the American Rescue Plan Act. First off, a little background. What is that? Where is this money coming from, and what can we use it for?
So this is money that is coming from the U.S. Treasury in relation to the pandemic and in support of the pandemic. It's not CARES, it's just another allocation from the U.S. Treasury to the county of Riverside, and the county's share was $239 million. This money is in support of child care, nonprofit, infrastructure, economic recovery, and housing and homelessness, to name a few.
All right, so specifically today during the meeting, anything significant happened in terms of moving this forward?
I wouldn't say significant. We presented the proposed allocation to the Board of Supervisors, and by allocation, I mean the distribution of the $239 million among the categories that I just referenced earlier. County Department's response, economic recovery, housing, homelessness, nonprofit, child care, and infrastructure. And back October 19th, we provided the Board of Supervisors with the best distribution based on the interim funding guidelines that we received from the U.S. Treasury. Since then, we've received the final funding guidelines on January 6th, which prompted our office to come back to the board, do the right thing, and share with them the latest and greatest based on the latest compliance requirements that we have received.
So you have this money, but you have to use it for specific things. You have some boundaries, some parameters, right, to spend this.
We have boundaries and parameters, absolutely, but we are also working with other county departments to determine the appropriate programs that are most in need and to serve the constituents of Riverside County by district. So we're working closely with the Board of Supervisors offices to determine those needs on an infrastructure front, as Supervisor Perez mentioned today, and Supervisor Washington, and on many other fronts, whether it being economic recovery and housing and homelessness needs as well.
All right, very good, Rania. Let's hear from Jeff Van Wagenen, the county's chief executive officer, who also spoke on ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act.
Early on, when we first received the dollars, we provided the board with a broad framework based upon our early read of the legislation. Then, at the end of last year, we brought forward a more specific framework with those large buckets of dollars. But we had committed at that time to the board to keep coming back as we learned more, both from the final regulations from the Department of Treasury, but also our experience in where those dollars could be moved. So what you're seeing now is the latest version of that framework, where we are moving some money from revenue recovery into infrastructure, and there's some other slight movements as well. We will continue to fine tune those buckets as we work through the process over the course of this first allocation of ARPA funds. And then specific allocations or expenditures are coming to the board in other ways. You'll see, for example, when we have an infrastructure project like we did last meeting, that came to the board for a specific vote. We're also seeing the nonprofit dollars that each board has allocated, each board member has allocated, come in those different settings. So this is just a fine-tuning, Supervisor, of the framework we presented at the end of last year.
Thank you, Jeff Van Wagenen. And Rania Odenbaugh a moment ago made a great point identifying the needs in our community, including the help from our nonprofits and housing. Heidi Marshall from our Housing and Workforce Solutions Department got in front of the board today and talked more about that.
The funds that we're using for United Lift, which is the rental assistance program, is a separate set aside. The county did receive approximately $240 million for that purpose. We have spent $124 million thus far and have assisted 16,000 families with that service. In taking a look at the flow of applications that are coming in, we haven't seen a massive slowdown. That tells me that we are not going to use up the entire allocation. In fact, it is the opposite. In looking at the data that we've received for those 16,000 applications plus the additional 27,000 applications that have been received as a whole, we've noted that what we thought was going to be something that shifted sometime after folks started going back into the workplace is not occurring as we had originally anticipated. In fact, there's families who have exhausted the maximum amount that the program allows that are still in dire straits for a lot of the reasons that you've just noticed. Some of them are not able to readily go back to work as a result of childcare difficulties. And so we are looking at strategies in-house where we can transition them into a longer-term situation that will result in a self-sufficiency accomplishment at the end of that road.
All right, very good. Thank you, Heidi. And as we transition now to public health, we had our own public health director, Ksarwatari, here at the Board of Supervisors meeting today. She went before the board because they were looking for an approval and of agreement with service groups to address COVID-19 disparities in underserved and high-risk populations. Here's Ksarwatari talking more about what this exactly means here in Riverside County.
So COVID really highlighted the disproportionate impacts on communities of color. We know that our Black and brown communities had higher rates of infections, higher rates of death, and severe outcomes, hospitalization, and long-term impacts. This inequity is not new. It's something that has been around for decades. Just now it's really highlighted and at the forefront, and so it provides really a unique opportunity for us to address equity on a more systemic basis throughout the county. So we're really excited about the opportunity to do this. We did get grant funding from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to do this. And so this is work that public health, although we have an amazing team, we can't do this work alone. And so we partner with community-based organizations and faith-based organizations throughout the county to really have a greater impact, a greater reach, and stronger connections with the community.
Yeah, and it seems like the theme today was the county. We do a lot of stuff here behind the scenes and amongst our many departments, but also with our community partners, a lot of partners and agencies out in the community that assist us, whether it's ARPA or maybe identifying needs in COVID-19 health coverage. So that's kind of the theme here for today's Riverside County Board Brief. My name is Pep Fernandez. We appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you next time. Next week, we will be dark here at the Riverside County Board of Supervisors. But the following meeting, we'll be right here with another board brief brought to you by the County of Riverside.